If you're planning to cruise in 2022, keeping up with the constantly evolving travel requirements might seem a bit overwhelming. While testing and vaccine requirements are now commonplace in the cruise industry this year, many are beginning to wonder if there will be additional health requirements. On the top of people's mind is whether you're going to actually need to get a COVID-19 vaccine booster to board a cruise ship this year. Unfortunately, the current data is hinting more and more that you will actually need to get that additional jab. Now, why are we saying that? Well, in this video, we're going to share all of the latest information from the cruise lines, including Carnival Cruise Line, who just made an announcement regarding how they plan to define what it means to be fully vaccinated on their cruise ships, up next. Welcome aboard, cruisers. It's Don from Eat Sleep Cruise, where we help you see the world one port at a time. And since we just set sail on Holland America Line's Rotterdam, we received a lot of questions about what it's like to cruise right now. Now, one of the big questions we keep getting is, do we think you're going to need a COVID-19 vaccine booster to cruise this year? And more, we're starting to think that sooner or later the cruise lines are going to make this a requirement. Why? Well, currently the vast majority of cruise lines do require guests to be vaccinated. While the specifics vary slightly by cruise line, guests need to be fully vaccinated with an approved vaccine at least 14 days prior to sailing. Now, some cruise lines like Norwegian Cruise Line are sailing with 100% of both crew and passengers being vaccinated. This means anyone 5 years or older can cruise with the cruise line if they receive the required doses, which currently right now is 2 shots of Moderna, Pfizer, or 1 shot of Johnson & Johnson within a specified period of time. Now, other brands like Carnival Cruise Line are sailing at a 95% vaccination rate. So unvaccinated guests with that cruise line need to actually apply for an exemption, and the cruise line will only grant a small number of them to keep them within that 95% ratio. Both Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line allow unvaccinated minors to sail, although the cutoff to be considered an unvaccinated minor does vary. Royal Caribbean still requires individuals 12 years and older to be vaccinated. However, starting this month, Disney Cruise Line lowered that threshold, requiring anyone 5 years and older to be vaccinated on their cruise ships. Among the major cruise lines, none of them have come out just yet and stated that to be considered fully vaccinated on their cruise ships will mean you need to be boosted. However, some smaller cruise lines and European cruise lines have already updated their policies to add a booster dose as a requirement. Additionally, more and more destinations which cruise ships visit are also updating the requirements to include a booster dose to go ashore. For instance, UK-based brands Cunard and P&O Cruises were the first to announce the need for COVID boosters to cruise on specific voyages. As of this taping, those requirements are for longer voyages, and guests on those impacted cruises have been notified of this new requirement. The German cruise line TUI is adding the requirement for booster shots on sailing starting February 23rd of this year. Other cruise lines like Hapag-Lloyd Cruises made similar announcements recently regarding boosters being required starting with sailings in February. Back here at home, the small adventure cruise line, well known for its Alaska voyages, Uncruise Adventures, will also begin requiring COVID booster shots as of February 5th. Now, will some of the major cruise lines follow suit? Interestingly, the answer looks to be yes. Last week, Carnival Cruise Line made an announcement that they're extending their vaccination policy indefinitely. Now, this notice was actually sent to cruisers who have cruises planned later in the year. The cruise line is allowing individuals to cancel their cruise and get a refund for these late 2022 cruises. Now, buried in some of the language on Carnival Cruise Line's website, it indicates that the cruise line will abide by recommendations by the CDC. So if the CDC decides to change the definition of what it means to be fully vaccinated to include a booster shot, Carnival Cruise Line is indicating that they will change their definition. So it would seem that if the CDC, or put more appropriately, when the CDC decides to change the definition of what it means to be fully vaccinated to include a third shot, Carnival Cruise Line has come right out and basically said they're going to make that a requirement. Now, other cruise lines haven't made such statements, but If you look at cruise lines such as Virgin Voyages, which is one of the first cruise lines to come right out and say they were going to require vaccination on their cruises, it's hard to imagine them or other cruise lines like Norwegian Cruise Line, who also currently has the vaccination requirement in place indefinitely, to make similar changes to abide by the CDC recommendations. Now, even if cruise lines like Carnival Cruise Line or Norwegian Cruise Line or even Royal Caribbean do not change their definition of what it means to be fully vaccinated, the destination your cruise is going to might have that as a requirement. For instance, Hawaii is changing its definition of what it means to be fully vaccinated to include a booster dose. This booster dose will be necessary to skip the travel quarantine. Thus, if you're taking a Hawaii cruise later this year and actually want to leave your cabin to explore the different islands, then you're going to need to be boosted. Other European destinations are also adding a requirement to be boosted starting this month. For instance, travelers heading to France must show proof of a COVID booster to obtain a French health pass. This pass allows access into museums, restaurants, and more public venues. Both Austria and the Netherlands recently announced booster doses will be required as well. In fact, Austria implemented this requirement in late 2021, and the Netherlands has announced that their vaccine certificates will require a booster dose starting this February. Further, these certificates will only be valid for 9 months, meaning your booster has to be within 9 months of your travel date. Croatia, Switzerland, and Greece have also indicated their intent to make booster doses mandatory to enter those countries. Although, as of this recording, there are no concrete plans in place in those destinations. Also, Spain is the latest country to add a COVID booster to its entry requirement. The country will require US visitors to have a booster shot if their last date of COVID vaccination was more than 270 days prior to arrival. Again, this rule goes into effect in February. So, as you can see, the answer to the question whether you'll need a COVID booster appears to be yes. If you're planning a cruise in 2022, it's important to stay up to date on your cruise line's travel requirements as well as the destinations your cruise is planning to visit. Of course, as the state of the COVID pandemic continues to evolve, so will these travel requirements. And now we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments section below if you think the major cruise lines will require a COVID booster to cruise this year. Would you take the additional shot? Let us know in the comment section below. I'm DB from Eat, Sleep, Cruise, where we help you see the world one port at a time. And just a little side note, yes, we are actually boosted. If you enjoyed this video, we have tons of other videos here to help you plan the perfect cruise vacation, from cruise reviews from all the major cruise lines, ship tours for some of the hottest cruise ships out there, as well as tons of cruise tips and travel planning advice. You can also reach out to us all over social media at Eat, Sleep, Cruise with your questions or just to say hi. We'd love to hear from you.